Well, hi. Seems there is a problem with rotation, so I will do manually. I wanted to do back the tutorial on the Copertura because I did it on my Instagram. It seems that there is a little problem for some to find it and to have a look at it. So they asked me to put it on YouTube. I had not recording, so I will just do for that live. So the Copertura concept. If you get on my Instagram, you will have this 9 minutes talk about. It is, I will explain back here. So the Copertura is something that is basical for singing. Basical means that if you really want to have a technique, you must be able to protect your vocal folds by the pressure we put to have all the extension and the color, and everything is required by a professional singing. Not only a professional singing, a professional technical singing, that is something that is more free than just a natural voice and a good songwriting or something like that. So we discovered that the Copertura is the mechanism, and it is a specific movement into the throat, and we can obtain many ways, but basically it is the process of a movement inside to protect your vocal cords from the pressure of the breathing, especially from the pressure of the sustain. Okay, so can we sing without Copertura? Yes, of course. Can we have a long career, a great voice, and the freedom of a true technical voice? And I don't mean by technical voice a voice that declares to have had a technical path. I mean, technical is a voice that is free to do many things, that is able to do a lot of repertoire, that is able to have the extension of what you call sometimes the gifted voices, and they are just technically not out of the path. And so why some of you have, and very often I find also with my professionals or students, a great problem in covering the sounds. There is a great misunderstanding there, because the concept absolutely important that I wanted to point out, that I don't find pointed out anywhere, not in the tutorials, not in the books, not in the ancient method, is that the ancient method were on the second step of the misunderstanding, so they were out of the misunderstanding. Just in the last decades there has been this misunderstanding. This misunderstanding is that you cover the sound, and then you have the sound covered, and you have the color of your sound covered. No, you cover the sound and you have a covered sound with a clear how your sustain works. So if you have a bad sound, if you have a worse sound, thing that usually happens, okay, you will have not the color, not the kind of voice that you have your voice with the sustain that you were working before covering the sounds. Since when you don't cover the sound, you can't put a correct pressure under your vocal folds. Why? Because this correct pressure without covering will obtain screaming, will obtain high larynx, will obtain the bad sounds, will obtain that you can't have high notes, that you can't have low notes. So without covering, basically you can't have sustain, because every time you put a correct sustain, in some sort your larynx is covering sounds. Otherwise you have a very stiff larynx and you have just a little sustain on few notes. That is possible with very stiff larynx, with very willed persons that want to obtain immediately, without waiting, without understanding that it is an elastic process, the voice. You will have this excess of pressure, but it's not the sustain. The sustain is never an excess of pressure. It is the correct pressure under the vocal folds to make them really work properly. With the Copertura, you can apply sustain to all your extension. You can train your sustain in all your extension. Without Copertura, you can sometimes reach a good sustain, but not in all the extension. So basically they work together and they can't work the one without the other. And the color depends on how you're covering and how you're sustaining. So just to make an example, you have this color here, quite clear, quite nice, perhaps effective, perhaps in which they give you work because you're truly interested in what you're doing. And what happens? Someone tells you that to do a better career and to really get professional and not strain, you need Copertura. You listen to the tutorial of Pavarotti and Cetrix. I thought about this talk when I saw something I really enjoyed. That was a little video with Cetrix and Pavarotti, and they were basically saying the same thing. Yeah, of course we do say the same things all the time, that we really work correctly with voices. Why? Because basically 3-4 things are exactly the same always in vocal technique. Then each of us has a different style and a different way of adapting and using that. So Cetrix and Pavarotti want a certain kind of copertura. I like that kind of copertura, but I don't like to remain in that sound. That's why I'm doing that, because you don't have to remain in the sound that Cetrix or Pavarotti want. If you like it, if you're in the style of you, if you're, yeah, of course, but it's a little old now. But it's not all this kind of copertura, or you're going to strain your vocal folds. So you have your sound uncovered. With some sustain, yeah, probably not really effective. Oh, they ask you to do copertura. Your color very often will come here, darker, with less stamina, with less sensation of strength for you. For the others will be better. For the other professionals will be better. For you it's really no, I refuse this sound, it's not my sound. Why I push to remain there? Because we are not remaining there. This is the first step of the process. It is a 2-step process. When you're covered, you're realizing how much lack of sustain you have. But since with Copertura you can train your sustain because your vocal folds will be protected, you start putting the sustain under and working on the sustain. And the sustain will bring back the color, but without screaming, without straining, without getting out of the pitch, without getting out of the overtones of your band, and with the freedom of having there all those colors. I prefer not the clear color, the not too covered sensation color, but it's my style. It is not a technical choice. The technical choice is that I ask you to cover, and then we put back the sustain. How much? According to the color you want, according to the kind of soul musician you have, according to the kind of repertoire you must do. And then there will be some voices that are settled more on sustain, and they get back there with some of the things they had in starting point, just the good things, not the bad. That's why it's totally intelligent to cover the sounds and not to be scared. Of course, you start here, your sound gets worse, you're scared and you refuse it. You start here, your sound gets worse. Yeah, okay, understood. You work your sustain. And you're another one. And this one can do a career. And this one can do many things for all his life. I hope it's clear, okay? Have a good day.